Hi, this is Clara, and today I'm going to be talking about a bunch of books I've been reading that have to do with race. As an American living in the Netherlands, I've been thinking about race a great deal. With Donald Trump now as the Republican candidate for sure in the American elections coming up, I thought it was a good time to think about America not merely consisting of white people and then like others around the edges, but being a intentionally and idealistically diverse country with literature that reflects that. The first is Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It's a fiercely perceptive novel about an Nigerian woman who moves to America and moves back after 15 years. I was fascinated by the perspectives on immigration and on the perspectives of how difficult it is to recognize the struggles of someone other than yourself. James Baldwin's Going to Meet the Man. One of the things I love so much about this writing style is Baldwin makes it so easy to understand and perceive the challenges and struggles of his characters. It's very easy not just to enter into their experience, but also to feel other people's prejudice against it as they're feeling that. Some of my favorite stories in the collection included one where an American man moved to Paris, lived in Paris for several years, and then after getting married and having a child, they are moving back to America together. And he's a little concerned for his son, especially that this child has grown up in Paris and doesn't know what it is like to live in the racial culture of America, and he's concerned for him and wants to shield him from that. And so there's all those like feelings of concern and also nostalgia, and it's beautiful. It also reminded me a lot of Between the World and Me, which is the next book I read. Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me is part treatise, part memoir, part letter to his son. It is so forcefully written that I was sitting reading it alone in the apartment and started reading it out loud to myself. Like, there was no one to hear, no one was benefiting from me reading it out loud, but simply reading it off the page felt like too passive a reception of the message of the book. It was very, very, very powerful. The fourth book is one that I mentioned in my earlier video back in September, but I hadn't finished it at the time, so I figured I would make another plug for it now. The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander is a nonfiction book about the criminal justice system in the US. It is a very thorough and clear presentation of the ways in which the criminal justice system in the US is massively prejudiced against young men of color. I think one of the things that stuck with me the most is the fact that there are more Black people in America today incarcerated than there ever were as slaves. The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. This book was just beautiful. It's a series of vignettes, so they're short stories, and they are a lot more joyful than I guess I was expecting. At least sometimes it's marketed towards young adults, so it has a lighter touch than some of the other short stories, certainly than the Baldwin. Her writing style is so clear and sweet. It was such a pleasure to read. Also, I will mention that I did read the 25th anniversary edition, and that had a beautiful introduction, which was a memoir of sorts from Cisneros when she was writing it, and what her life was like at the time, and the sort of things she was struggling with and thinking about, and it was just beautiful. So definitely recommend that. The other book I was going to mention is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, which I actually have a paper copy for. Junot Diaz has a writing style unlike anything I've ever read before. It is snarky, and it is sleek and put together, and it will have these footnotes. So, like, footnotes that take up a lot of the page, yeah? Which will start with something like, for those of you who missed your mandatory 2 seconds of Dominican history. They're very informative, but also cheeky about it, and rightly so. Yeah, it was pretty fascinating. I thought it was really good. Definitely recommend all of these books, and I'm very curious to know what you have been reading and how you think of the diversity of the US. This month is Asian American and Pacific Island Awareness Month. I hadn't even known it until Literary Tango mentioned it on her channel. I haven't read anything, I don't think, that is falls into that category of novels, except for things I read when I was very young. So maybe I will pick up something there. Do you guys have suggestions for books to read next, or comments or thoughts about these? Have you read anything by these authors? Do you have suggestions of other books I should read? Thanks for watching. Bye! Okay. This recording has been awful.